Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Mirror Dungeon solo video. Today we'll be overworking the already overworked Rosespanner Meursault. In terms of an identity, he's pretty below average. His rolls aren't the best, maxing out at a 16, though that 16 is impossible for him to achieve by himself without tremor support, resulting in a more average max of 13. His biggest problem is the fact he doesn't generate any tremor count whatsoever, and as a result cannot keep a tremor stack alive. Further compounding this effect is his skill 3, which consumes 3 tremor count, making it even more difficult as this is his best damaging skill. The Ego Regret and the Tier 4 Ego Gift Downpour are his only reliable source of tremor count, which means taking advantage of tremor is not something he does particularly well. The support passives for this run are standard like always, except for the few unique ones that he can actually take advantage of, which are Muller off his E-Song for defense down when he tremor bursts, Zweiffaust for defense up when using 2 skill 1s, and Ufi Heathcliff as well as W Dawn for extra clash power, though in hindsight I should have used Sync Dawn instead, as I rarely ever use more than 2 skill 1s in a single turn. Our starting gifts were the typical Reverberation and Sour Liquor Aroma every Tremor ID takes, and we head into the automated factory for the first floor. Here we find Bloody Gadget before entering the first boss against the robots. These guys are slightly hit or miss when it comes to difficulty, and by that I mean you either have a Pride Blunt skill or you don't. Rosespanner Meursault happens to have both of those and can easily take down both of the smaller robots relatively quickly, triggering the skill check that ends the fight. We take Eclipse of Scarlet Moths as our reward, and the next floor we choose is the Outcast, where we buy Child Within a Flask, Melted Eyeball, Lithograph, and take an extra skill 3. We also find Green Spirit before we make it to the boss fight against the Ebony Queen's Apple. We are weak to Pierce and Gluttony damage, which could prove to be a problem, but luckily for us, every Meursault identity is a tank identity, allowing us to easily take the damage. Outside of that, this fight's nothing to really talk about. It's an easy boss for a slightly subpar identity. Our reward is the Oscillating Bracelet, where we pick the Miracle in District 20 as our next floor. This is, in my opinion, probably the single easiest floor in the entire game, which sucks because it also has one of the best ego gifts in the form of the huge gift sack, which provides us a 2 permanent protection. This floor doesn't seem to have Santata as a possible boss, or maybe he is and I'm just incredibly unlucky, or it's bugged. Fact of the matter is, it's weird that it's possible to not get the Intervalo-specific boss on the Intervalo-specific floor. Project Moon should disable the weird long fight, and only have Santata as a possible boss in my opinion. Anyway, we easily make it through without a problem because there is no boss on this floor, and pick up the previously mentioned huge gift sack as our reward. The fourth floor we choose is Rising Power Supply, where we buy Blue Zippo Lighter, Biovenom Vial, Late Bloomer's Tattoo, and Pendant of Nostalgia. We also get the Material Interference Force Field before entering into the boss against KQE. He's another easy boss to solo against and always will be. He simply lacks damage and his gimmick doesn't really do much, especially to tank identities like any Meursault. It is quite funny though that Pendant of Nostalgia combined with the Miracle in District 20 unique ego gifts give enough poise potency and count to transform any identity with a Gloom skill into a poise identity. Rosespanner Meursault would legitimately be poise count positive if it wasn't for the fact his skill 3 has 4 coins. We take Nixie Divergence as our reward, heading into Sunk Gloom for our final floor. We buy Devil's Share to aid our Tremor character's poise build, and portable battery socket at the first shop, gaining wrist guards, grey coat, and painkillers along the way. Once we make it to the final shop, we buy Imitative Generator and Imposed Weight before heading into the ultimate final boss against the ultra-dangerous Blubbering Toad. Yeah, this run wasn't that interesting, to be honest. Whenever I do solo runs, I have essentially two different categories of identities. Those that I'm confident in, and those that I am not. You can probably take a good guess as to which category Rosespanner Meursault falls into based on the floors I chose. Could he have beaten harder fights like the Brazen Bull or Skin Prophet? Yeah, probably. But at this point I'm 5 layers deep into the Mirror Dungeon using an incredibly boring identity, and honestly don't want to do it again. I was getting flashbacks from the base Yi-Song run with the levels of tedium from this guy. At least Yi-Song had interesting animations. Meursault just hits them with a big hammer and that's it. The most interesting thing about him is the fact that I managed to accidentally turn him into a poise identity with the ego gifts I chose.
완료했습니다. 현장 퇴근 말씀이십니까? 알겠습니다.
Anyway, that's how I managed to solo Mirror Dungeon 4 hard with Rosespanner Meursault. It was a fairly boring, very safe run, but I guess that's on me for choosing such easy floors. It's a bit late to say this, but don't actually watch this video. It's not that interesting. Instead, like and subscribe so you don't miss next time where we'll be playing with this far more interesting character. Goodbye.